This is the Team Objection Podcast for January 30th, 2024, episode 608. If you would, out there in YouTube land, let me know if everything still sounds good, especially Dave. Dave, talk to the people.
I have a thing. Look at this thing. Of course, I didn't grab the pop filter that I was supposed to have, but it's probably sitting outside my door that I ordered it. So
Go get it right now. It's fine. It's the intro. Do it.
All right, cool.
That's how we do it on the fly. That's how we do it.
Now we talk bad about him.
Sounds good, so good. Yeah, Dave is much improved. We got him a new microphone. It's actually the same one I'm using here, but I have a pop filter over mine. So we're looking to level up everything. We're looking to level up everything.
Right then.
I wanted to, and I didn't even drink it yet.
I know.
You want to see something else we leveled up? This is only for the YouTube people, not for the podcast.
Wow.
Oh,
good.
No.
Now she's on the screen.
Awesome.
For the audio listeners, Maisie has a comment on
Now-
YouTube that says, so good, and I put it on the screen now, so people who are watching on
So
YouTube,
good.
you're going to get your chat comment spotlighted now, so you can see what's
Okay.
going on. And anytime I can be like, hey, you want to be on the screen? Here you go, Josh. Now you're on the screen. What sorcery is this? Well, that's
Yeah.
why, if you saw a bunch of test messages in the thread before the thing went live, that was why. I was messing around with the thing.
What about when the Nazis
wanna
come
see-
back? Is that going to be on the screen?
It's okay. I can choose when I spotlight them, so we don't
Oh,
have to
great.
do the Nazis. I can if I want to, but
Can
I
we
don't
do an
have to.
unboxing? Can we just do an unboxing here on live? I mean, so here's the package that it came in. Here's the Amazon package it came in right here. See?
Okay,
And then, oof, the pop filter. There it
there
is.
you go. Now you get
Why-
to put it on the
why we're
microphone. And
opening-
make
Why
a
is it
bunch of-
blue?
Did you have to show the Amazon bag? I feel like we watched a Sonic movie the other day, and I didn't realize how much fucking merchandising's in that movie.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
Probably in all movies, but
Yeah, but they were especially on the nose about it.
yeah,
So anyways,
There we go.
this week is about
Check
catching
that
up.
great. Catching up.
We're catching up with a few things. Maisie, by the way, says, do the ASMR clickety-clackety bullshit.
What was that?
He now muted himself somehow when he put that
No,
on.
you have to do
so-
the fingers, the finger thing. That's what they all do, right?
I thought ASMR.
Yeah, you got-
Yeah,
you
they
can-
do
you
that,
can,
but then they
like,
do a bunch
drag
of
your
other
hand
stuff
across
too.
the
I've discovered that
mic.
this shit actually helps put me to sleep, so it works.
Oh
You
my
can
god.
like make
No, it
texture
actually doesn't work. I'm
noises.
You're
sorry.
such a fucking Gen Zer.
Yeah,
You
I'm
can
sorry.
do
It
this
actually works.
stuff.
It's kind of awesome, actually. I'm all in. I'm all in for it. I like
Yeah,
it.
I think people have realized that, like, some people are really into that, especially if they have, auditory things going on or whatever. It can be quite soothing for some folks. I don't really get it, but then again, I liked Bob Ross, and he was kind of like the pioneer of ASMR in a weird way. Didn't know it at the time, but worked out that way.
For sure.
So anyways, this week is about doing some things that we haven't had a chance to do because everything's basically been scheduled the last 3 months, which was cool in a way because we had a lot of good stuff in there. We had like the Nintendo tier list and the game show, the 600th episode, but it also means we haven't had time to talk about some of the usual stuff. The Suns, but don't worry, it's not just a Suns cast. We have more of an overarching basketball take about people getting on their lawns, about defense, which we'll get into in a bit. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl because that matchup's been settled, but not about football. It's not a football cast. We're going to talk a little bit about
It's
our
about
trip to LA. We got a lot to get to today.
I want to talk about the Oscars.
Sure.
All about Taylor Swift.
The Oscars have happened already,
They haven't happened. What are you talking
so
about?
why would we talk about them?
Because the nominations came out.
Why don't you talk about the nominations when the winner gets announced?
Because
You
they
didn't have a response that I
I
won.
did because
No.
I gave you a sideways
No, because
look.
see, you went silent for half a second like Dave last week, which means you had nothing
No.
to say. So I win.
I was thinking. I was giving the bit. I was allowing the bit to breathe. The nominations are interesting.
No, they're not.
There
It is a
because
contest.
There's a certain snub. It's only one snub. It's the only thing I want to talk about.
Okay, fine.
Now that I've said snub, see, I've convinced you. I stood my ground. I will not be pushed around by Cody. You're the new guy. I've been here since the start. I'm more OG than Dave even.
That's not true.
It
I
is
was on the
because you
original
took off like 2 years, so you're like a new cast
That's not-
member.
But no. If you're talking about original, Chris and I did a test run of this show before you did
Yeah,
it.
but that
We have
Dave
a-
died
episode
when
0.
you took off 2 years.
Mm.
I
I'm not going
had
against that Dave.
children.
I'm going against this
You're
Dave.
actually Dave 2.0. Did you,
You are
know
Dave
that?
2.0. Worse in every way, though.
I just want to think that if
So
Sean
it's Dave
has a child-
0.2.
So when Sean has a child someday, basically what's going to happen is Sean's going to be like, man, the parenting's really hard. I can't even do the show anymore. Like, it's just not even a thing. I quit. I'm sorry. That's what's going to happen. You know,
Dave's like Microsoft Vista,
He quit already.
and now he's off
I
the
quit.
thing.
I'm gone.
You ruined my fucking great burn that I was thinking. The whole time Dave was talking, I was thinking. I was not listening. I was thinking, God, what was the name of that program that was really bad by Microsoft?
There's
That
no
sounds right.
better example of you than saying,
Oh, I lost it.
I wasn't thinking
There he
about
is.
what you were listening to what you were saying.
No, no.
I was thinking of what I was going
But
to
I
say
got
next.
the pull, and it was Vista. That's a good one. Someone give me
No.
credit. Anyone.
It was not.
It was pretty good. You're the human Microsoft Vista. That's really good. You're smiling. I see it. Anyways, Oscars and other stuff. Where do we want to start?
Oscars.
Great.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
There was a lot of so the Oscars came out, all the nominations came out, and everybody was immediately distraught because Barbie, the director was not nominated, and the actress Margot Robbie was not nominated, and now I forgot the director's name.
Greta Gerwig.
Thank you.
Greta.
Chris didn't know, and I told him, and then I forgot. Anyways, when you look though
Sean's
at
memory,
the
everybody.
nominations, what, Dave?
Sean's memory, everybody.
It's bad.
Sean's memory.
It's bad. I can pull it except when there's pressure. But I did get Vista. So, what did you think about it? Did this come up on your radar? Because I think people are overreacting. That's my hot take on the hot take.
I think Gerwig's not great. I think that she probably should have been nominated. I'm not overly convinced that Margot Robbie not being nominated is some like travesty. It sucks, but it's not the end of the world. By the way, everyone just also decided to skip over the fact that America Ferrera got nominated for the movie, so it's not like no female got nominated for the movie, which they really seemed like they were pushing. And I'm like, it is.
Everybody just got mad because it's Barbie.
Yeah.
So a lot of tweets, Cody. Ryan Gosling got nominated, so they're like, this is literally the plot of Barbie. That was like the main. This is what Barbie was fighting against. They're like, yeah, I get it. If anything, Ryan Gosling should not have been nominated.
Exactly. That'd be fine.
The movie, other than Best Picture, which I think now that there's 10 films, I think it's fine to be a nomination. I wouldn't.
It's like the movie was a good movie, but it's also like if it got no nominations at all, I'd be like, all right, that's probably fair. Other than the songs, because like original songs not hard to get nominated for, and
No.
they had 2 of them, I think.
I'm looking at movies like Zone of Interest and American Fiction and Killers of the Flower Moon and Barbie, which was good and important and made $1 bajillion, but like that's not what the Oscars is. The thing that makes the most money.
Would you like make the equivalent of like when the first Black Panther movie came out? Like, oh my God, it didn't get a bunch of acting nominations because it's like it's really important and groundbreaking in a way, and it's like, all right, Chadwick Boseman didn't get nominated for Best Actor, but like no one like would flip out about that. Again, I think the issue is that Gosling got nominated and then the other main women didn't. And everyone decided to just ignore Greta or America Ferrera getting nominated to make their point. And I'm like, you're really excluding some information to make your point.
Yeah.
And altogether, you're right. Barbie gets nominated for Best Picture because there's 10. That's fine. Does everything else really need to be nominated? Probably not. And if he just wasn't nominated, no one would have like noticed any of this.
This was what I brought up to Sean.
Yeah.
It's on the screen, but again, for the audio listeners, Hillary Clinton weighed in, and Hillary Clinton.
And I'm so glad, because if she wasn't here, I feel like this issue would have just gone ignored.
Very
Thank
tapped into
God.
the pulse of America. Pokemon go to the polls. And here she mentions the Knuff thing, and it's like, okay, I guess this plays to a certain demographic. But again, like you said, I don't know that we needed her to weigh in. I don't know if we needed anybody to weigh in. But
Well, and my biggest issue of it was, tell me in all this outrage, which director you would have taken off.
That's fair.
Because they're all great directors who had amazing movies. One of them is a woman, or one of the top directors who is nominated.
Yeah, they got one in, so what do you want 2 for? God.
yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm just, again, merit-wise, yes, the Academy traditionally has not nominated enough women. But I'm just like, look at the movies. Just look with your eyes. Tell me which movie should have been taken off to allow this space.
And in general, like the top movies don't usually like the top. What do you say? Like the box office performers don't usually show up well in Oscar season. Occasionally there's overlap, but for the most part, the stuff that everybody goes to see, like Super Mario Brothers movie, is not all over these nominations. First of all, because it's animated, but second of all, because that's just not how the top box office performers do. So it's like this isn't, I don't think, like sexism. I think it's just this is how this works. If you don't like it, that's how the Oscars have been for a long time.
I'm sorry, Peaches by Jack Black in the Mario movie was not nominated for Best Original Song.
No, it was not.
Fuck, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we
There's
doing?
a snub. Where's Hillary for that?
We had 2 songs from
Barbie. Yeah.
I mean, they got like
They're
8
gonna
nominations.
They're gonna get mad when I'm Just Ken wins because it's the they're gonna flip out if it fucking
really
wins over the other one. I think it's Billie Eilish. I think is the other song, right? If the Ken song wins, everyone's gonna lose their shit, and I'm fucking here for how funny that's gonna be.
This is the reason why I've never cared about award shows, because everyone there is so much subjectivity that goes into this type of thing, and unlike sports where there's objectivity, there is a final score, you win, you lose. If you like a movie and think it's great, I don't feel that you need to be validated by an award. Like, people connected with and found the Barbie movie extremely important for themselves, for the messaging that went out, the discourse that happened. That's kind of enough, isn't it? Like, we don't have to validate it with a golden statue, do we?
You skipped over last year's awards where one movie won basically every single award, and it didn't remotely deserve all of them. But everyone celebrated it like it did, and like, because it was like, so it's better. It's basically the best fucking movie ever made because it won almost every single fucking category last year. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this movie's not that amazing. And then I had the same thought as you. I'm like, why do I care?
I thought it was pretty amazing.
It's not. It was not good
I
enough
don't
to win
even
all
remember.
those fucking awards. But that's besides the point.
I honestly don't even remember. What was it? What was
Everything,
it
everywhere, all at once.
Oh, that's right.
Rakakuni.
I proceed.
Anyway, so yeah. So I just thought, again, like the first thing, the nominations are released, and everybody's like, oh, they're all up in arms about the snub. And I was like, I don't know. I think
There's
maybe not
there's probably
deserved.
been bigger snubs. And again, it's Ryan Gosling's fault for being really funny as Ken, I guess, to get fucking nominated in the first place. So
I suppose.
it was. Was it under supporting actor? Or it wasn't lead actor, was it? He's not a fucking lead actor in that movie.
In that movie, he's a lead
supporting
actor. If
Yeah,
you-
it's gotta be
No,
supporting
best
actor.
supporting actor.
And so you're getting all bent out of shape because a guy got into a supporting actor category. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Like if it was lead actor again, I'd be like, all right, that does kind of seem weird, but
Yeah, I know, honey. I don't get it.
it was a fine movie, Maisie. It just I don't need I don't know. I don't need to eat up 10 minutes of explaining why I can't believe fucking Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Supporting Actress in a movie where
Dude,
she did like nothing to
but
me.
you got to watch her in The Bear. She's fucking crazy. Anyways, I will stop now because I got my movie TV stuff in.
She-
Hot
Now
dog
she's
fingers.
just
I got
yelling,
Rakakuni
which-
and hot dog fingers.
Now's your good time for you to transition into your trip to California where Hollywood is.
I just gave her a mechanism to be on the show more. Now she's screaming from
And
the
now
other
she's
room
screaming
instead.
from
She's
the
screaming
thing, yeah.
louder.
I wish I endorse.
So I don't understand
makes
what
sense.
I've done anything on
So
today.
we went to Universal, Cody, and I want
There
you to
you
know I
go.
bought a wand. And the first thing I
did-
did was pointed it at Gary and said Crucio.
Did you go through the thing of where you pick like you figure out which one's for you, or did you buy like Draco's wand?
No,
Because I just
did.
assumed you'd buy Draco's wand.
Apparently for them to like go through like, what is your sign? What do you like? How do you solve problem? You have to like be chosen out of the crowd, and it's like very
And
rare
you're not a
that's gonna
child, so
happen.
they didn't
And I'm
fucking
not a
pick you,
kid.
right?
Yeah. So so you just go in and you can either do like the established wands or you can do
I did
like
go. I have been to it, so I did go into the wand shop.
so they have like a million wands
Yeah,
all
just
over
all
the
over
wall.
the walls. Yeah,
And I'll show it to you. It's like, oh, you know what? I'll grab it after this. It's aspen and it's white because Doug liked the black walnut one, and I was like, you know what, Doug, you've done a lot on this trip. I want you to get the one that you like. So Doug got the black walnut silvery one.
so it's just a wand you randomly picked off the wall, but it wasn't a character's wand.
no, it wasn't a character's wand, which I like better. It spoke
See,
to me.
we should have had you go on Pottermore and break down which wand you needed to get. or-
Well, they had a whole stand outside that had all the character wands, like 40 of them or so, probably. So there's
Yeah.
some common ones, some obscure ones. You could go that route.
I'm just saying,
But
he
this
could've-
whole store was like the unique ones if you want.
yeah, but he could have gone on to Pottermore and discovered which one he should have gotten correctly instead of he just picked the one that looked cool. Yeah, if you go on Pottermore, it does the
yeah, but
you
what,
should have a whatever core with a whatever outside and
what they
whatever.
tell me it sucks. Or they're like, you're in Gryffindor. I'm like, no, I'm not. Gryffindor sucks.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell
Damn.
you.
Okay,
Shots
okay.
fired. Shots fired.
Yeah, Gryffindor
I mean, he's
sucks.
he's attacking people that I don't. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm not one of those people,
My-
so it's
Serious.
fine.
So we got a wand, and then Chris, we went to Mario World,
Oh,
which was very cool. I
Yeah,
was
so
surprised
Dave,
how
that's
cool.
that's going to be required for your family at some point. So good luck, because it's going to be
Yep.
expensive.
It's going to be expensive as hell. It's like $200 a ticket for the Universal
Yeah.
Studios. So
That's pretty much what it was. Now, that was only because we got the express stuff, but I think that's invaluable, so you almost have to,
Yeah.
because we were able to at least skip all the lines and the rides we cared about, except for Mario Kart. The only downside of Mario Kart was that it was having some kind of technical issue, so it kept breaking down. That caused us to be in the line for what seemed like a longer time, but the estimate was 60 minutes when we walked in, and it was 60 minutes when we got on the ride. So I don't know if they were just overselling or what.
Well, they kept so it started with like, my name is Brendan. We encourage you to stay in line. We're dealing with someone, and then like 20 minutes later, they were like, we don't have a fix yet. You might want to just leave, but if you do, it's up to you. And we're like, well, that sounds terrible. But it worked out.
We at least had the Mario music outside while we were waiting. Now, we heard one song looping longer than others because of where we got stuck in the line. Luckily, it was a good song, but still, the ride itself was super worth it. It's a good, 5-minute ride, so it does feel like you get your money's worth. You know, there are some times where you stand in line for something and then it takes 2 minutes and you're like, wait, but I was in line for 3 hours. What did I just do? But, the augmented reality was neat. That was probably the showstopper. It's what we were there for. We were there to see everything, but, that's the new hotness, and it pretty much lived up to the hype.
Did you go on the lot tour thing?
No,
but we had done that before.
I was curious if it's changed at all since the last time I was there 4 or 5 years ago.
I think you were there more recently than us then, because we were there 7 years ago or so.
So, Dave, they're going to want to sell you power bands. And, if you have kids, I would say maybe. That would change it. For us, it was stupid. What these do is you wear it. It allows you to interact with the question blocks that are all around the land. And you get the ding, ding, ding. And there are challenges that you can do. And if you do all 3 challenges, you get to do, the final challenge. Challenges are very rudimentary, though. And you have to wait in line for the challenge, which takes 2 seconds. So for us, it wasn't worth it. For your kids, it might be. It might really help with the immersion, but it's $40, which is a lot.
Yeah, each $42 for each power band.
Yeah,
and they're themed based on each character. So there's a Toadstool one, there's a Mario one, whatever. But it's awful hard sell. We don't know if the final challenge was cool. I think that's what we saw as we came out of the restaurant with the person with the video board, and they were punching different blocks. I think that's what that was. But we couldn't get in there because we hadn't cleared the other challenges because we didn't buy the $40 power band. And while the lines weren't as bad for that, it was an hour for Mario Kart, as low as 40 minutes, I think we saw at one point. The lines for each challenge were 15, but still, it's 15 minutes for a 1-minute challenge. And then
wheel a crank until a Goomba falls off.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's it.
There was kind of a fun one that was reminiscent of the aggro crag, not in the mountain sense, but in the sense of hitting different actuators. It was those long spiny plants that'll wrap around and stuff. You had to go punch out different lights. And it looked like a 2-person thing. So I saw a dad and his daughter doing it. That one looked more fun, but the challenges did seem hit or miss. So yeah, it's going to be maybe you can get one power band and then let your kids each do it or something, because I don't think $120 is the best approach.
The one thing I noticed, or I had noticed in the handful of times I've gone to Universal Studios, because it's considerably cheaper than Disneyland. So if you want to go to a park, you go to that one. With the addition of Mario, does it feel more updated there? Because sometimes I go there and I'm like, I feel like a lot of these movies are outdated and aren't really in the main popular culture anymore, and it's hard to keep turning things over and over again.
I think definitely
it is. Okay.
It looked shiny and new, and my favorite part was the scale. It's not there's not a lot of square footage, really.
Yeah.
But it's so tall. You'll look up and you'll see the lands, and there's platforms and clouds moving, and it really feels like you're in a Mario. I liked it as an adult. I thought it was cool. As a kid, I would have been like, "Oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever."
So with Mario and the Harry Potter thing now, it makes the basics of Universal Studios is just it's you sit in the thing and it's a 4D thing or whatever. The backdraft thing had existed for so long, and I'm like, no child knows what the hell backdraft is
even
anymore.
Simpsons was like a ghost
Yeah,
town.
exactly. The Simpsons ride used to be the Back to the Future ride, then they rebranded it as Simpsons when the Simpsons movie came out. And aren't we 16 years since the Simpsons movies? That's what I mean by they put stuff in and it just gets outdated really, really quick. And so the Mario world and the Harry Potter world, which are pretty everlasting, I feel are really valuable to
we talked about that
to stake on that.
While we're in line, there was some cool stuff in the line for Mario Kart, including just this whole Yoshi section and this and that. When we finally got into the castle itself, there was all sorts of cool stuff going on. And we didn't have much time to see it because at that point, the line finally started moving and everybody was just so we flew through all that stuff. Michaela has some pictures I want to look at some point because I barely got to register any of it. But while we were in line, we were talking about the fact that it's this is relatively evergreen. I mean, it's not like Mario's going to go away anytime soon. And now you've got the nostalgia factor, so you're going to hit the Daves of the world and even people older than that who grew up with that in the NES days. And yet it's also got that modern spin to it. It's mostly just based on the Mario franchise. There wasn't Galaxy stuff in there. There was one Luma. There was no Rosalina. It was really just the core 4 and Bowser for the most part.
Yep.
But to your point, even the Simpsons, who have been around for 30-something years now, it's okay, but this has been here. This feels stale. Mario, I think, is going to feel fresh in a different way.
Yep. Yeah.
I just feel like Universal figured it out, that they had all these things based on one-off movies. Like, again, Backdraft is a one-off movie, and they made a whole thing about the fire.
They have a
and
Fast
time.
and Furious ride coming up, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why now?
Exactly, and it's just
Yeah.
like it just felt like they were behind on a lot of this shit. And I think they realized with the Harry Potter universe what they hit on, which isn't going to go out of the style when we're going to now make the TV show and make every book a season. They're going to stay in the vibe of that. And Mario's going to make another more movies along with the games and all that stuff. Like, you think the Mario franchise isn't going to crank out at least 2 more of these movies now? It's going to try and rival what Sonic's doing. Eventually we're going to get a fucking Mario Sonic movie, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Great.
They're,
We talked
they're
about
at
it
a
too.
point. They're at a point now. I mean, they just pumped out the Mario movie, which is a box office smash.
Yeah.
Mario Wonder, which was a absolutely great game. A wonderful game. Haha.
Ah.
Like it was. So yeah, they've got the momentum now with the new generation. I mean, my 4-year-old son's favorite character is Mario and Sonic. His 2 favorite characters are those 2 characters.
Sonic
that
is
I grew
wild.
up with.
Mario
Yeah,
makes
well,
sense. Sonic is. I'm like, man, that must just be great
they love-
design.
They loved the movie. Like they
Yeah.
really loved the Sonic
Yeah.
movies, and I mean
Yep.
they're good. I can't fault the Sonic.
We
movies.
just rewatched them at the end of the trip.
We
Have you shown your kid Parks and Rec yet? Dave,
Have I
There's a
shown my
point to
kid?
this.
No, but I have actually been watching that recently because
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm excited for when he realizes that Sonic's voice is Jean-Ralphio. That's all I want.
Well,
I want a
he even
child
does
I want a child to have that realization.
He does the Parks
I
and Rec
just had
thing
that
in the
realization.
Yes,
movie.
exactly.
Mhm.
That's why I want him to realize that. It'll be
I
funny.
just had that. I just had that realization. What? That's
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, and so when he does like
I learned something.
time to watch a movie, it's like
Yeah,
that's
it's a
Ben
reference.
Schwartz doing it.
Parks
Yep.
and Rec.
A lot of good references, really. Some of those I didn't even catch the first time I watched them.
Yeah,
But I mean, to Cody's point, yeah, and I think that's why you're hearing the rumors about a Zelda world now, because it's the same idea. Now, you can't do everything that's all kid-friendly there. You want some of them to be adult, but like between Harry Potter and Mario, now they've got some stuff that's going to be evergreen because kids are going to continue to get into the books, even if they don't put out future stuff, which of course they're going to. There's still the books and the movies for kids to get into. It's a magical world. It's friendly for adults and kids. So the more of that they can lean into, the better. Because I mean, nothing against like the Mummy, but do kids give a shit about the Mummy?
Yeah.
Probably not.
yeah, which was a fun ride, but yeah, very kind of outdated franchise now.
There was just a run. I lived in California, and like Universal Studios at times was like $75 when we were younger, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but why do we want to go? What are we gonna go for? There's not really anything that was valuable before like the Harry Potter land landed there. So I'm glad that Universal's got it figured out and it's got a product that's got people interested in
Well,
going.
now they're talking about a Zelda expansion. That's
Yeah.
the next thing rumored. We wouldn't have gone, I don't think, if it was not for the Mario world.
Good. Yeah,
I
exactly.
think like I was interested in Harry Potter, but the Mario sent it over the top, and I think
Yeah, the shitty part is that the Harry Potter part of in Florida and in the UK is better
oh,
than
yeah,
the
I've heard
California
that.
one because the
But
California one's so
they
small,
had butterbeer,
which is fucking delicious.
so fucking good. Holy shit!
I'm pissed that they haven't
just
decided to
sugar.
just bottle this shit yet and sell it
Yeah,
in stores.
I know. What do you mean it's just sugar? I know it's just sugar. You think
I
that's
mean, that's all.
news?
I'm just
Shut up, Dave. It's a good version of
It's
sugar,
still new.
okay?
It's like
I
a
did-
butterscotch cream soda
That's exactly
Did I
what
say
it is.
anything bad about it? Did I say anything bad about it?
with
I
like
just-
vanilla on top.
You implied it negatively with
You
your
did.
tone.
You did. Thank you, Cody.
Tone
See,
speaks volumes.
man, Dave's been running all over me for all these episodes. Now I finally,
Yes.
Yeah.
That is how this relationship has worked.
Eventually, I'm
Finally.
gonna flip on your side
Yeah.
and shit talk Sean nonstop, but you're fucking wrong
Yeah.
right now.
He will
My-
do that.
because
My-
butterbeer's delicious.
my day in the sun has finally come.
I
Did
never
you
said it
float?
wasn't.
Did they float? Did they float still? Oh, they made a float.
They do like a vanilla thing on the top, like a
I thought
layer
they
of
put
like
a
some kind
plop
of cream.
of vanilla ice cream with it. in it.
Oh, it wasn't ice cream on this
I
one.
thought
Or
they
maybe
did.
it
I
was
thought they used
just
to do
melted.
floats.
And then Michaela got a hot one, and I was like, I want
Yeah,
the cold
fuck
one.
that.
It was so good.
Now
It was like
better.
I know you say that, but then Doug and I tried it. Doug, like, his mind went blank for a second when he tried it. He lost it. It broke him.
because it's sugar. That's why.
But it was so good and kind of like nutty. Like the heat brought out like different textures of the
You
butterbeer.
sound like you're fucking analyzing shit on Bake Off right now.
Oh
Kind
well,
of.
no, I'm just
Maybe.
saying what it was. It was
Maybe
really
he's Paul
good.
Hollywood.
You're so analytical.
I didn't know that my wand could do stuff in the park though. I was too busy torturing my friends. I didn't know that. Like
You're also
you
a
could-
grown ass man, so I don't know. Maybe running around with the children doing things at the park with the.
I wouldn't have cared, but I didn't know it could do it until later.
Well, now you have a reason to go back and bring your wand.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
That's true.
So
Some people even said that. There was somebody in line when you guys were buying wands. There was another person in the other line talking about like, well, these are going to be Christmas gifts for my kids. And I'm like, in January, but okay. I guess it was also to go on a trip. So it was like, here's some wands and we're going to Universal Studios. So I'm like, well, that is cool. And then they can use the wands in the park, so it makes sense. But I was like, damn, that's like 11 months from now. But okay.
Yeah.
Did the person go to Universal Studios alone just to pay the ticket price to get in and then buy the wands?
I don't think so. I think they went on a grown-up only trip to get
Okay.
away from their awful children.
Got it.
Nice.
That they then
That sounds
spent
great.
$250 on while they were there.
Yeah.
Sure. But, you know.
And then we went to a concert. It was a Near concert. And I was like, Near, it's kind of a niche concert. Like, huge fucking stadium, not stadium, concert hall. Gigantic. Way bigger than what I've seen in Phoenix. Filled. Completely filled for this Near concert music. It
With
was
lines
wild.
snaking out the door and
Yeah.
not even getting everybody in after they opened at 7. They were going so slowly and there were so many people that not everybody was in their seats by the time it started.
I feel like it's a testament to the music because the games are good and they're somewhat popular, but like I don't think they're that huge on their own. I think people are like, the music in these games is really good,
Mhm.
and I want to go see something that celebrates that.
And the chance to see the two singers live was really the most impressive part. And it was a really good concert overall. Some of the songs were really, really glowed up live. But anytime you get to see vocal talents live, it's like, wow, that's from the game, but like that's an actual person singing it with this powerful performance. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And they like told a little story, Cody, through there was like the characters were narrating like a journey that would trigger these different songs, which was just like they didn't need to do that. They could just play the music, and
Mhm.
I thought it was really cool.
What's what?
Near,
venue was it at?
NIER, capital R, stylized.
Peacock Theater.
Oh, yeah, it was at Peacock Theater.
The fuck is where's the Peacock?
It's right next to Staples or whatever that crypto.
Crypto.
That's changed names so many
Yeah,
times.
I'm
yeah,
okay,
probably.
sure.
Well,
Yes,
it's named
I've
Peacock
seen-
now after the streaming service.
I've seen 4 different concerts in there. I actually like that place quite a bit.
Yeah, it was really
It's
nice.
Good
really
venue, good acoustics, plenty of good seats. They had the 3 video boards, so you could see the occasional video footage and stuff. The only downside was that they didn't have video of the performers, which some concerts will do. They'll be like, all right, here, we'll showcase, like, we'll pan across, and here's the violins doing their thing at this part of the song, and now here's the singers. So you couldn't really see that stuff all that well. But other than that, I mean, there was very few negatives to the whole thing.
Yeah, it was really cool. And
So
then
that was
watched,
that.
let's see, the 2 Sonic movies. And it was the whole trip.
Pretty much. We drove. We took Doug's car. That's a whole thing with electric cars, but we'll do that some other time because it was mostly good, to be clear. He's got a Mustang electric vehicle.
We were in California though, Cody. So of course we go to Ben and Jerry's. It's these tiny ass fucking cups, tiny, and then wooden stupid.
Are you
spoons
referring to the
and-
Ben and Jerry's along Universal
In
City
City
Walk?
Park, yes.
and paper straws, and it was a woke apocalypse. It was
And it was
terrible.
$8.75 for that tiny cup.
Also
So I did
true.
not partake. I was like, you know what? I don't need
What a
ice cream.
deal.
I'd rather live.
Yeah,
See,
I
I'm
think you
used
got
to
a great
this
deal,
because like
actually,
that's
on
the
that.
price of like all the shit like in Vegas too. It's the same fucking
Yeah.
thing.
Well, my
Everything's
thought was
way
like,
overpriced and shit like that.
because, you know, like Baskin Robbins, we have a Baskin Robbins in Flagstaff. So, like, whatever, right? We would have gone. Like, it's good ice cream, but it's not unique. We saw the Ben and Jerry's list in the city park, and we're like, oh, wow, like Ben and Jerry's, what's that like? And it's like, it's really just the ice cream that's in the pints,
It's
just in a bigger
really
container.
no different. It's the same shit, and it's not worth it, and it's not some special Sunday.
So I'm paying twice as much for half as much, and yes, part of that's the location, but I'm like, nah, I don't need ice cream. I'm good. I'm 38 years old. I'll pass.
no, I'm
And
blurry
Sean got
now.
Sean got ripped
Yeah,
off.
you ruined it.
I'll fix it. Want,
You're not centering it. There you go.
There it
There
is.
you go.
Can I touch it?
of course.
Let me touch it. I want to touch
So
it.
it's like a
Let
wooden,
me touch it.
it's a wooden handle area-ish
Crucio.
part,
Cool. I died.
mostly
Wait, no,
white
I'm
with
Harry
like
Potter,
some,
so I didn't
some
die.
I
brown
was tortured.
woven
All right,
through
how
it.
do I open it up? Can I just bend it to see
No,
the inside
don't.
core?
No, don't
Here.
do that.
Here, Cody, just point it at Sean and say, and think really bad thoughts and say Avada Kedavra.
No, that's a death one. You can't just kill people.
Yeah, he's just trying to torture me, not kill me.
Yeah.
I just wanted Sean not to speak. That's all.
Yeah. Well,
Just cast Leviosa.
To be fair, it looks pretty fucking cool.
if you want me not to speak, we can start transitioning to the Super Bowl talk now. Just kidding. I'll still talk.
Good one.
That's Cody's topic for the day. So let's do it. Let's talk about the Super Bowl.
All right.
It's going to be a really good Super Bowl, and everyone should be really happy with how it those 2 games turned out, as bad as it was this past weekend. So everyone's going to enjoy it. It was great.
Are you being
But
serious?
Cody-
Yes,
I
I'm being
don't
serious.
The
It's a
Chiefs.
very good fucking game.
know. Okay.
And most
But Cody,
importantly,
I hate the Chiefs. Like,
okay, well, it's
I
good
hate
because
the
I
Chiefs.
also don't want the Chiefs to
I
win.
don't really.
Because
I don't
it's
actually.
it's most importantly great because I put $50 on the Niners at 10-1 to win the Super Bowl, in September, and now I have a chance to make $500.
You should thank Chris and I then, because we walked into the restaurant
Yes, did
and the Detroit Lions were killing the Niners.
Yes, they were.
And then from the moment we started watching, Detroit just collapsed.
Yeah,
They
see,
collapsed.
That's because there's things that have to happen in sports, in fandom, and the Detroit fans are not allowed to make the fucking Super Bowl the first year that they're kind of good again. So that was just fate was going to crush them and make
I
them
think
sad.
when Chris and I were watching the game, they did not complete a catch, including a punt. They bobbled a punt, then they dropped just a catch that was right in front of the guy. So I think we are the reason they lost. I don't
Good.
know why. I don't care.
You helped me.
It might have
Thank you
been.
very much.
It might have been me. I did the exact same thing. I went out to dinner with my mother-in-law at her house, and same thing. Walked in the restaurant. Wow, the lines are up 24/7. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Gone.
So we didn't have a control group because it could be any of us. But
Or it might have taken the combined effort. We don't know.
that's true.
True.
We'll have to
From
experiment
two
next
different
year.
states.
So
I mean, we are Suns fans, so it makes sense
Yep.
that a team
Yeah,
things
actually,
bad things happen.
Cody,
To the team, yeah.
Cody, that hurt my feelings that you said that, Cody, where you can't win the first time after being bad for such a long time, because that's exactly what the Suns did in 20.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just the rule.
But we made the finals for maximum pain. So that's why I think,
Yeah.
if anything, as long as Detroit has suffered, they were supposed to win that and then get crushed in the Super Bowl.
Instead, they're one of 4 teams in like 70 years to blow a 17-point playoff lead. So, that's
yeah.
God, that
And they
hurts.
blew it with the swiftness.
yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, this long drawn out thing. Like, we make all the jokes about 28-3, but like that took the entire rest of the second half to pull that off. This was tied within like 6 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
Niners
we
were up
took
by
their
10.
power away from being able to hold the ball, because we watched the fumble too. They just dropped the
Their
ball.
running back did fumble the ball.
They
but the Riders
just
did
could
no
not
yes.
hold on to the ball.
And then 2 straight passes the next drive when we're like, God, they just need to get a couple first downs, flip
Nope.
the field a bit, like just
first
stabilize things, hit 2 receivers in the hands, dropped. You're just like, oh boy.
And then they almost tackled San Francisco quarterback Purdy,
Yes,
Yeah.
Purdy.
and they almost sacked him. We're like, oh, they got a sack, and then he ducked out of it, ran down to the sideline, and still got a first down. All right, Dan. Well, it's just not the Lions' night.
I really look forward to everyone, because Tom Brady finally retired from the NFL, right? It's the first year he hasn't existed in the NFL.
Sure.
And now you have quarterback who was a late round pick and is immediately really good and has his team in the Super Bowl. And then you have quarterback
After
who's
being
made the AFC Championship game 6 straight years. So it's basically the 2 dichotomies of Tom Brady's career. And trust me, that's going to get fucking brought up, and it's going to be really, really annoying
Mm-hmm.
that you finally got rid of him, and then you have 2 examples of what he was in his career playing each other.
What's weird, because football is made for parody,
Yes.
and then you don't get it really.
Yeah, when you get a
overall.
really fucking good quarterback, there is
Yeah.
no parity.
All that matters is the quarterback. We've seen it literally this entire century, this entire
Yeah.
millennium, since the year 2000. It's like Brady, Manning, and then Mahomes now, and that's it.
Mhm.
Like, if you have the quarterback, that's it. That's all that matters. That's
Yeah.
why Patrick Mahomes has a $500 million contract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for the casual observer, it should actually be. I think it should be a pretty fun game. I think that if the Ravens made it, it could have bored the shit out of people, because they would have just run the ball and did all the things they were supposed to do against the Chiefs, and then decided to not do it anymore. So I think from the very casual viewer, this should be fun. Never mind the fact that somehow these are the exact 2 fucking teams that were in the Super Bowl 5 years ago, and now they're facing off again.
Right.
Which I don't even know if that's happened with the exact same matchup multiple years away, and we just end up with it right back happening over again. The Patriots Eagles is probably the other one I can remember, because it happened early 2000s and it happened mid 2010s, but there was still a bigger gap.
The Bills, Cowboys, I think, were that back-to-back years?
They might
in
have
the
happened
90s?
back to back over and over again.
There was a
Yeah.
couple, I think, in the
Yeah.
90s that got back there, but it's
Yeah.
been a while since then. And now look,
Yeah.
as much as as much as some people in particular hate this, Taylor Swift's in the Super Bowl. That's kind of a big deal.
Well, I was
It
gonna
was
say,
funny
because
watching
no one's thought of this yet. No one. It's crossed no
Yeah,
one's
you're the
mind.
first time.
Just have Taylor Swift do the halftime show.
I
mean,
had literally, I had my daughter say, well, Taylor Swift is going to be at the Super Bowl, so she should probably just perform a song, right?
Yeah.
She loves Taylor Swift.
the
Loves
thing
Taylor
is,
Swift.
she's too much in her prime still. We have to wait for people to be kind of washed up to
Yeah.
put them as the halftime act.
At the weekend was the closest we've ever gotten, and even then you're like, well,
Exactly.
Yeah, but that was they used to do stars. And then Janet Jackson's boobs fell
But,
out.
yeah,
And then
I
they
mean,
were like,
you know.
okay, I guess we're going 70s rock and roll
Yes.
forever.
And then we've decided to have rap really randomly for one of them.
And then
too.
they're like, now rap is 20 years old. So
it
Eminem
was
can come
it was
back.
20-year-old rap, to
Yeah.
be fair.
Yeah.
Playing it safe. It's weird that Eminem is safe. That's where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Doug is here. Hi, Doug. It's
He
fine.
missed
His
a
chat
bit,
message
but-
is gone. We'll try
No,
and
it's fine,
later.
Doug. You just missed the entirety of the trip that we talked about that
Yeah.
you were a part of.
That's why we didn't talk about your car, because you weren't here. So your car sucks.
I gotta say, in thinking about the Super Bowl, I find it funny that we did, like you mentioned with Brady being retired now, we've now moved on to exactly Brady retired, and boom, now we have the longtime quarterback who's in the Super Bowl every year, it seems, that everyone wants to hate because he's too damn good, basically. Great, I'm all here for it. I love when people hate people like that because I find him amazing.
I guess the difference is a lot of the hate Mahomes gets is for the people around him and not Mahomes himself, although he's been a little bit he's been throwing some tantrums this year more so than usual, but like in general, people like, hate his wife, hate his brother. He doesn't get quite as much of that, but he will if he keeps having success because that's the price that comes with it.
What's wrong with his wife?
She one time sprayed champagne out of her suite onto the people in 0-degree temperatures to celebrate it, and got them all soaking and wet and sticky. And I don't think they really appreciated that because it's a pretty she was happy and excited, but she probably gets more shit than she necessarily deserves. His brother's actually a fucking nightmare. With his TikTok bullshit and is really out of touch. His wife's really not that bad.
Not really.
And now that Taylor Swift's up in that box with her, she's got to do most of the attention gets deflected over to Taylor Swift anyway, so it really ain't that big of a deal.
That's true. And sometimes you
I
can be
feel bad
beloved.
for her because she really doesn't deserve the weird, mean hate people were giving her online.
You can be super liked like Steph Curry, and sometimes your wife's just a pain in the ass, and Brittany's not that bad.
Yeah,
so.
but I feel like his wife is cucking him or something crazy. Like a shade down from Jada Pinkett Smith's. What she's doing
I get a notification in my feed that's like, Ayesha Curry talks about Steph liking feet, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Why are
it's
those
real
words?
To direct us back towards the Chiefs before we get
Why?
into more feet questions. The Chiefs are never going to be hated as much as the Patriots because A, they don't cheat that we know of. There's no cheating scandal through 6 years of this. And B, Andy Reid is not anywhere in the same realm as hateable like Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
So people are not going to ever hate them nearly as much.
That's true. Andy Reid is kind of the lovable uncle that hangs around and say, "Hey, you got some cheeseburgers? Sounds great."
Yeah, I mean, he's like a mix of the Kool-Aid guy I've seen made fun of and a walrus made fun of multiple times when his mustache froze. So and then he's just in these fucking State Farm commercials being weird and goofy. It's no one's going to hate this dude anywhere on the same level, no matter how much Mahomes tries to step up his weird whininess.
And it has to be said, Boston is not Kansas City.
That's also true.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Fair.
It's not Boston.
Yeah.
Boston,
So speaking of sports,
hateful people.
we put off the NBA talk as long as possible, and it's not even going to be specifically Suns, because while we could talk about the Suns for an hour with all the ups and downs, just the last two games in particular have been all over the place. A fourth quarter collapse and half a collapse and a win. But what I'm more interested in is the fact that in the last week, we've had 2 70 burgers and 2 60 pieces, one of which was by Devin Booker. Booker's averaging 50 points over his last 5 per game. It's just a recent example. We had a couple 70 spots last year. Mitchell did it. Lillard did it. So it's not that new, but to have 4 in a week, 2 in the same night twice, a 70 and a 60, the 60 and a loss, brought up other discussions about, have we gone too far on the scales? Has the pendulum shifted to the point where now it's defense is non-existent, which obviously is good by some metrics. The NBA likes the idea of high-scoring games, but now maybe it's a little too much.
Yeah, this is too much.
It is too much, yes.
It's too much.
That's it.
I mean,
yeah. So I think a lot of the changes were made to give a benefit to the offensive player were good when they happened.
Because it's easy to forget, but we had games that were 75 to 71 in the last 20 years.
The fucking Pistons title team was
they
doing
were
that.
as ugly as they sounded. So the Suns actually came out, and Golden State's they deserve a lot of credit for taking it to the next level, and made it faster, made it more fun. But I feel like we're so good at scoring now, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more benefit being given to the defense. Just to balance it out a little bit. We're still going to have 100-plus games all the time.
Yeah. When 5 people on, if you're not a team that has 5 people that can shoot, or at least 4 on the floor at all times that can shoot threes, you're failing as an offense now. And that just has never been the case. So then you space out the floor, and with the quickness that these guards have and the ability to change directions that I don't remember seeing when I was a kid. I don't remember seeing Kevin Johnson do a Euro step. It's just it's just the skill level of these players is so high comparatively to what it was, that how are you supposed to stop them?
And that's a good point, is like either we need to allow the defense to a little bit more, like with hand checking and things like that, or really fucking finally, for once, crack down on traveling. And they always say they're going to do it, and then we get 10 games in the season and they give up. But this is like Euro step bullshit that James Harden is doing. Not the Euro step. I think the Euro step is fine for the most part. Although it's weird because they count the dribble as like a gather step. So it's always 3 steps. And I'm like, either just like fucking change the rule to 3 steps, or to be like, no, that's still a step. You've stopped dribbling. You've taken a step. That's 1. Now your second step is 2. You can't do this Paul George, boom, 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 reverse dunk. It's bullshit.
And you can't do the step back into a gather into what is essentially a 5-step 3-pointer.
Yes, that James Harden thing. And so that's where I think that will help. I don't think we need to like move back the 3-point line. Probably.
I also think you could make the case for getting rid of defensive 3 seconds now. Because if teams want to plant somebody in there and risk the fact that there are so many potent defensive like liabilities from having somebody on the perimeter now unguarded, I think that's something that defenses should be able to weigh. If you want to play zone, I mean, teams try it. It doesn't work very well. But if you really want to commit to like, all right, look, we're going to have to take something away. So like, you're going to stop Giannis. He's not going to be careening in here every time because you're going to be waiting for him. And if that leads to more like Pat Connaughton corner threes, then that's what we're going to live with, right? So I don't know if that would solve everything, but it's one of the steps I think would be the easiest to implement, because like hand checking could open up a whole can of worms. I'm not even saying I'm opposed to it, but it's been so long. So it's like it's hard to compare, because the last time we had hand checking, teams were taking like 10 threes a game. You could see footage of like games from the 2000 area where the lane is just packed.
Yeah.
Like the 98 finals, you go back and watch games from that, whether it was The Last Dance or whatever, and you're like, there's 5 dudes from the defense inside the 3-point line, just chilling. There's no spacing whatsoever. There's no threats out there, so they're all packed in, and Jordan's still scoring anyways and making middies and whatever. But like, there's things we can do. It's just a question of, I don't know if we just re-implement stuff that was in the past. I think we need to re-examine it in the current light.
Yeah. Whatever anti-Giannis rule we can do, where it's like, yeah, you can't just bowl over anyone that you want and get the foul called every time.
Yeah.
Like, we just can't do it.
Shai
Gilgeous-Alexander does it too, and I like him, but like,
Trae Young.
We got to do something.
I've always felt that if, as an offensive player, with the Giannis thing that you're talking about, if you lower your shoulder, that's a foul. Like on automatically for me, if you lower your shoulder and make contact, that's a foul on the offense. But they don't call it that way. There was a very famous play, kind of famous, but play last year with the Suns where Torrey Craig lost a tooth and got a foul called on him when he lost the tooth.
So
because Giannis hit him.
I don't know about any time lower the shoulder, because that's, I mean, a lot of times that's sort of like how you drive, and that's how the body works. But yeah, if a player is there and you're like, oh, he was a step slow, it's a chart, or it's a blocking foul. You're like, no. If a player's there, like, you cannot just go through people. You got to go around them. And if it's a little bit of contact, but you're on the side, it's fine. If they're right in front of you and you're Torrey Craiging it and you lose a fucking tooth, that's a clear foul. Mm-hmm. We got to do something about. I don't know if the NBA cares. They're like, yeah, we have a scores 150 to 150, and we love it.
Yeah, wouldn't you rather be down around 120, 110? Like, isn't that like 130 max on like really good games?
Yeah.
Like the 140, 150 shit where you're pushing like 300 combined points just seems like fucking ridiculous.
And there's highlights from Luka's game, and I'm not trying to single out Luka. We hate Luka in these parts, but some of those Hawks defensive plays, and I'm putting defensive in air quotes you can't see, were an absolute, like, he was just waltzing to the rim for layups.
Yep.
And yes, he's a very special offensive talent, and his passing threat makes defenses have to respect that. But there's times where you're like, there's nothing even approaching defense here.
Well, and that's the other problem, Chris, is I guess we're talking about rules implementation. It wouldn't have mattered for that game. It's like a culture thing. So how do you fix that? If you have more defensive rules, does that help people want to care more about defense? Like, I don't know, but they weren't doing anything.
I think you get to the point where teams and players are recognizing that there's no point because you can't really try and defend at a high level. If you do, you risk putting yourself in foul trouble and getting taken out of the game.
Yep.
And we even saw, I mean, some of the rules have been tweaked since then, but remember how the people were defending James Harden by putting their hands behind their back? Just so there was no chance of him doing any kind of nonsense of a rip through or hooking their arms as he drove. Like, stuff like that is making a mockery of the sport.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like, hot take merchant stuff. I don't mean it that seriously, but just in general, that's a bad look for your product.
That's why I've mostly checked out of watching regular season games. Like, I like basketball, but I don't watch a ton of regular season games because on any given night, I'm like, no one's going to give a shit in this game, so why do I give a shit about watching it? Like, to that point, I'm like, okay, this night, everyone's just going to kind of take it off. Luka can go off, do whatever. No one cares.
I mean, I will say it's easier when you have your the dog in the fight. If you have your team that you love, that's kind of the only thing I watch. I don't tend to watch random regular season NBA games, but I watch Suns games frequently, so that matters.
No, I don't know, but it does get to the point where, and then you combine that with the feeling that so often the regular season barely matters.
Yes.
Like in football, they do a pretty good job of making the regular season.
It's incredibly important. I mean,
it's 16 games.
Yeah, there's 16 games,
few.
And 3 teams tie for the last playoff spot, even when it's expanded to where like technicality bullshit is getting teams in. And I get that's what the NBA is trying to do with doing the tournament at the end and things like that to make there a bigger incentive to making the playoffs, or there's more teams who are available to make the playoffs. And
it almost weirdly makes the regular season matter even less.
Though.
Even though it's good, it helps tanking.
Yes,
for sure.
But you're right because there's more spaces you can half-ass some more. I mean,
yeah, we can really half-ass.
Like I told Chris, I'm like, it's the equivalent of like you guys don't watch baseball, you don't give a shit. But it's like it's the same problem with baseball. It's like there's 162 games, and at a certain point, no one fucking cares.
Yeah.
Through like July and August, people don't give a shit, and they're coasting into the playoffs. And it's like now we're expanding the baseball playoffs, so now you should be 80 and 82. You just play fucking 500 in baseball across 162 games, and you make the playoffs because they want to make more money. And I'm like, I don't have any incentive to watch this shit.
Yeah.
At all. Maybe I'll go in person because it's fun to go in person on any random game. But why am I going to watch this crap night in and night out? And I feel like that, like Dave's right. When you have a team in the fight, it makes it a lot easier. And of course, the team I used to cheer for, I became fucking over because they're bullshit and just how the team was run. And I'm like, you're right. I don't have a team to watch, so I don't have any incentive. And I'm like, and I'm not going to turn it on TNT on like whatever night and watch the premier game because between guys sitting out or the fucking no one playing defense, no one giving a shit.
You know what else sucks? I'll do this too. What else is ruining the sport since we're on it? If I go and I spend $100 to go see Final Fantasy concert, and I get to the concert and they say, by the way, we're actually not playing Final Fantasy music tonight. We're playing something else. What you paid for is not what you're going to see. I'd be like, well, you're going to give me a refund, right? In the NBA, it's like, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, they're all out. It's like, especially on the Suns because we're so top heavy. I don't want to watch that fucking game. I don't. The tickets were however much money I spent. Give me my fucking money back. But of course, that's not a thing. And I feel, especially when you get load management, so they don't even have to be out. How is that okay? I actually legitimately how are they allowed to do that a little bit?
Card subject to change.
I was going to say the same thing. The old wrestling bit. Yeah. But, I mean, to your point, Joel Embiid was not on the injury report before they played in Denver last week. And then 20 or 15 minutes before tip-off, he was ruled out. So now there were even people on Twitter and Reddit being like, I was actually waiting to pull the trigger on tickets last minute to see because he'd missed the last, 4 games in Denver. But this time he's not even on the injury report. So, all right, I'm going to this game. I want to see Jokic and Embiid go at it. Get fucked.
Yeah.
And not to bring betting into this, but eventually that's going to really get fucked with sports betting.
Oh, yeah.
Because football was already struggling with that this year with some shenanigans in the injury report, which is actually vital. They're the ones who really do distinctly follow that fucking injury report. And basketball's made a joke of it for years and years. Yeah. And now you can't have all these fucking sponsorships and shit, and people put money on games and you advertise on all this crap. And all of a sudden, you're right, 15 minutes before the game, actually not going to play tonight.
Yeah, they have to do something. And, I mean, we buy tickets a lot. Maybe it's more incentive to wait longer. And we have been waiting to buy the tickets. But they have to do something. And, I'm surprised that there's nothing you can do to get your money back. I paid to see these players, and you did not give me these players.
But you didn't. You paid to see the teams.
Well, right. Well, that's what they're going to say. But I'm going to say, no, I paid to see. Well, and I'll even say, okay, I paid to see my team compete. And
they will.
They're not. They're not actually going to compete. That they have, most of the time, all of your stars you don't really have a good chance of winning. So it's like, I know you're playing devil's advocate, but it's like, It just, in every other industry, you can't do that.
Basketball's also the only one that has this issue. Hockey does not do this shit where people like just take nights off, even though that they have an equivalent scheduling for October to April and 82 games or whatever it is. Football doesn't do this because every game's fucking important. And baseball, you expect the lineup is a fucking mess every other game, and there's like day games after night games. Everyone takes off, and it's a half-assed lineup. You kind of know that going in. Basketball is the only one where you're like, what the fuck am I gonna get tonight?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is like, it sucks for us, and it sucks for betting. But I go back to like the thing, MJ and Kobe. I know you hate them.
I see what you're going with.
But like what they would say, like, I want to play, and I want to play through injury because there's some kid who saved up for a year or whatever the case may be. They came to see me play.
Yeah.
And if I don't play, that's just like money down the drain.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to consider that
and
acknowledge that.
It's shittier for you and Chris being up here because going to a Suns game is like a trek all the way fucking down. Even for Dave, who lives down in the valley, it's not easy to get to the arena. Like, unless you're within like a 20-mile circumference, like you can't just be like, I'm gonna go to the game tonight on a whim. I fucking have dreamed about how cool that would be to be near my team's stadium or arena and be like, on a whim, I don't have anything going on tonight. I'm gonna go on SeatGeek or whatever. Oh shit, it's 15 minutes before tip off and tickets are down to $20. Let's fucking go. Why not? None of us have that like luxury. Like you have to make especially Dave having kids, you have to fucking make an appointment basically to go to games. And I don't know, I feel like for most fans that actually is the case. There's not really that casual, I live close by, I can do whatever I want thing to where they don't care who's playing. They just want to go to the game because they can get it for cheap.
I find that funny in the sense of, all the things that you're arguing about why, you would figure this is the reason that basketball should be suffering in a way, because of all the things we just mentioned about people not wanting to buy tickets because the stars aren't playing, not knowing. All these things should be the deterrence that the NBA needs to say, hey, we got to do something about this, except it's not. Ticket sales are still good.
Yeah.
Viewership is still good. And so like unfortunately the incentive isn't there for them to change. Of course.
And the rest situation is better than it was the last couple of seasons. It's still not where it should be, but I mean, think about it this way. Like the Sixers knew the risk. Embiid is 4 or 5 games away from not qualifying for MVP with the new rules. And you could argue he's the front runner right now. There's a couple other people with a case, but like he's up there for sure. And yet he might just get disqualified because he has not played enough games. Now, he was at exactly this game count last season and ended up making it. But the point is, like, there's other reasons now they're trying to toy with. My suspicion is they're going to keep going further on it. That's why the NBA released that study a couple weeks ago that was, like, really nebulous, but said something along the lines of, the studies we've done don't show that resting players helps prevent injuries. And it's like, well, what's the science behind that? And they're like, we don't know. But if they can find something more concrete to latch onto, they might have something to go to war with the Players Association.
Yeah, I think Kawhi Leonard last year was just one of the prime examples of, guys, this isn't working because he rested all season. Hey, all right, we're ready to go. Game 1, the playoffs, boom. Game 2, you play great. Oh, man, he tweaks his knee. Oh, he's out. Gone. See ya. Like, what?
Yeah.
It just was one of those things where it's like you rested him all season, so he's ready for this, and he played 1 3/4 games, and then he was done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your solution is you could just make like a 60-game regular season and stretch this, stretch the games out a little bit to where we're not going back to back. Or you could just fucking start the season earlier or push the playoffs back later. Like, there's ways to keep the 82-game season and stretch it out and be like, no, you're not going to fucking get rest because we're going to play you 2 games a week. But they're set into how everything works, and none of that's going to fucking change.
What I want, if you don't meet the threshold, you don't get paid.
See, there's some reverse.
It's a breach of contract.
Yeah, there's some reverse backward ways of basically like to where if you like, I mean, this is mostly for suspensions in baseball, but if you're suspended for X whatever of this and that, you're not postseason eligible. So there's some ways you could do it to where you're like, hey, save for like literally being injured, like documented, you blew out your fucking knee and you only played 10 games in the regular season or whatever, or you're rehabbing from an injury that was lasting. Like if you can prove that there's load management shit, like you just don't let people be on the postseason roster. You got to play fucking 60, 65 games or whatever you want to call it and be like, you got to do that to be able to be eligible for that. There's some ways, that's a battle with the Players Association, trust me, but like, there's some ways you could get creative with it.
I'm fine with even going more games if like, Chris Paul's yearly injury, he's out for 20 games, but like it's a broken hand.
Exactly. There's a big difference between that
play.
And the Embiid, I'm perfectly fine. Oh, I'm on the injury report and I'm going to whatever BS they created for that.
Mild discomfort. And I know we're trying to protect the players, but it's like at some point,
Yeah.
You got to push
But
through it.
then like how much does it work when they play him for 5 minutes and pull him back out? It counts as a game played,
Well,
but then like you start
Yeah, that's true.
start
But
really
and
toying with
the
some
MVP
shit.
and All NBA had protections against that because
Yeah.
it has to be like 25 minutes in a game.
And I will point out, what about the time where someone's like, man, my hamstring, you have the Kevin Durant situation where he's got a calf strain and all right, I'll play through it. I'm not sure I feel good about this, but I got to make sure I hit my numbers, and torn Achilles, out. Like that, you have something like that happens, and it can happen, so it's a tough thing to gauge in that sense of like what counts as a realistic injury.
And you also have to de-incentivize the teams because while we don't see as much of this now, there is still the tanking situation where now the player wants to play and can't.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you've tied certain performance bonuses or end of season considerations into that, and now you're not letting a player play because you don't want them to get hurt in a lost season, that's not the player's fault. So there has to be something that also targets organizations from doing it, and it can't only be a fight with the Players Association then. So we'll see.
They'll do something where they're not scoring 60 and 70 points every night.
Yeah, and obviously, Booker did it in a loss, and it was cool. Booker has a 70 piece in his career, but at the same time, it's like, well, it was one massive scoring output in a week of them. Like, Embiid put up 70 and wasn't even the highest scorer of the week.
Well, yeah, to put up 62 and not be even the highest score of the night hurts a little bit, I think.
And to have two people in a week score 62 and lose their game, two different people put up over 60 and lost their game. It was just like, and it's not like these are bad teams where somebody just went hot, like the old Suns when Booker scored 70. No, the Timberwolves are top 5 in the West, and the Suns are right around the middle, top 5 in the West. So it's not like these are bad teams. Just there's a lot of talent in the league right now, and I think that's something that people overlook is how freaking talented the league is right now. There are good players everywhere now. You're not getting the shit that used to be back in the 90s when they expanded and didn't have enough of the talent pool. You got all the international people in now who just round out those rosters so well. There's a lot of good players.
Yeah, I mean, think back to some of the lineups that were surrounding, and we keep saying his name, Kobe, in like the late 2000s. Like the
Smush Parker.
Jordan Hills and the Robert Sacres and the all this
Vujicic.
trash.
How dare you?
All this
How
trash
dare
that
you.
existed in the NBA, even on teams that were trying to be good, let alone the teams that weren't, like the Bobcats back then or whatever. So yeah, it's a great time as far as the talent level. Now we just got to give the defensive players a couple of tools. We don't want an overcorrection. We don't want to go back to the way things were 20 years ago. But look, if everybody's scoring 150 points, it ain't special.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I'm pretty sure Sasha Vujicic is married to a supermodel, or at least
No,
was.
he
That's
was
it.
dating Maria Sharapova for
He
a
dated
long
Maria
time.
Sharapova. It's part of why I hated him.
But I feel like even
Yeah.
after her, there's another supermodel.
I don't know. He's gone.
Okay.
He's dead to us.
I hate him. He's on the irrational hate.
Literally,
list. Like, I
literally
don't
like
should
the
hate him.
last Laker that I loved so very much.
I think
before
Grayson Allen
my-
is also dating a supermodel, which I hated at first, but now I love him. 'cause
I don't
he's on
know.
our Team, so.
Apparently Emma Stone was hitting on him, so that was fun.
Great. Good for him.
But no. That's our catch-up episode. Next week is probably game show. So if you like that, tune
Are you
in.
gonna defend your title? Crucio!
I don't know.
Crucio.
Maybe not.
Crucio.
We'll have to
Try on
see.
me.
I got all of you.
Maybe 10 minutes before the game show, I'll decide, you know what? Tonight's not for me.
Exactly.
And I'll just opt out.
And all the people who paid money to watch the game show are going to be really sad.
I like the idea of I'm not mentally with it tonight. I don't feel quite as sharp as I should. I'm going to defend my title next time.
Yep.
Might do it. Well, who knows? Maisie
We
might
have a
have to
new
come right
game.
back up here and yell into the mic.
Grayson
Doesn't
Allen is married, just so you know. I just looked it up. He's married to a soccer player from Duke. So there you go.
It's supposed to be pretty attractive from what I heard. Where people were like, yeah,
I
Grayson wouldn't care. He's already got an attractive wife.
I mean, she's not hard on the eyes. She's pretty easy on the eyes. So there you
Okay.
go.
Phrases that don't hold up well in 2024. So yeah, there's a new game for the game show next week. That'll be then, and then who knows from there. We got all sorts of things on the plan. But as usual, thank you for watching. Remember, if you tune into youtube.com/Objection Network, you can join in. Now the chat's on the screen. You all can join in that way. I'm going to put messages up there. Here's one from Doug. There it is. So you can be featured even more than ever before. We'll respond to these, especially in those ones where we want feedback. Sometimes we're doing tier lists and the like. We can spotlight them that way. So even more stuff. All the more reason to tune in on YouTube, but the podcast is still there as well. In between episodes, you can find us on our website, objectionnetwork.com, and we will see you next week.
Reducto.
Comment on my beautiful